Feeling overwhelmed, stressed, like life's moving too fast? Take a breath, take 5 minutes, and take stock of all you have to be grateful for. I'm Olivia, and I invite you to join me for 5 Minutes of Gratitude, the podcast that transforms your outlook in the time it takes to drink your morning coffee. Together, we'll explore the power of thankfulness. From life's big blessings to its smallest joys, we'll discover how gratitude can change everything. 5 Minutes of Gratitude, because a thankful heart is a happy heart. Follow 5 Minutes of Gratitude now, wherever you get your podcasts, and let's start our gratitude journey together.
Calaroga Shark Media.
The marble corridors of Rome's Gemelli Hospital have seen their share of papal patients. In February 2025, as Pope Francis battled a complex respiratory infection, the Catholic Church faced a situation for which it had no playbook, a pope who was alive but potentially unable to govern. While the Vatican has detailed laws governing a pope's death or resignation, explains Cardinal Friedrich Weber, there are no specific protocols for incapacitation. This absence of formal procedures reveals a fascinating paradox in church governance. Unlike a bishop's diocese, which has clear protocols when its leader becomes incapacitated, the papacy exists in a legal vacuum. A pope remains pope, with all his powers intact, even if he cannot exercise them. This is white smoke, when a pope cannot lead. The Church has faced this challenge before. In 1978, during Pope Paul VI's final illness, the Vatican struggled to maintain normal operations while respecting papal authority. 2 decades later, Pope John Paul II's long decline prompted serious discussions about papal incapacity. The Church learned different lessons from each case, notes Vatican historian Maria Stella. Paul VI's secret resignation letter, never used, showed the need for clearer protocols. John Paul II's public suffering demonstrated how modern medical care could prolong these difficult periods. In February 2025, as Pope Francis received supplemental oxygen at Gemelli Hospital, the Vatican maintained normal operations through a careful balance of delegation and tradition. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, as Secretary of State, handled day-to-day governance. The Vatican's 2025 Jubilee celebrations continued, with Archbishop Rino Fisichella celebrating Masses in the Pope's stead. Yet formally, Francis remained fully in charge. His prepared texts were read at events. His decisions were required for certain matters. The Vatican press office issued carefully worded health bulletins twice daily. Modern canon lawyers have proposed solutions. In 2021, a team began drafting potential norms for declaring a totally impeded see. When a pope is alive but unable to govern, their proposal would transfer power temporarily to the College of Cardinals. Francis himself addressed this possibility. In 2022, he confirmed writing a resignation letter shortly after his election to be invoked if he became medically incapacitated. This followed a precedent set by Paul VI, who in 1965 wrote similar letters that were never used. During Francis's February 2025 hospitalization, the Church demonstrated both its adaptability and its limitations. The Pope's Sunday Angelus address was published rather than delivered. Vatican officials carried out their duties while maintaining the fiction of consulting a pope who was receiving high-flow oxygen. The system works, explains Cardinal Johannes Müller, because everyone understands their role, but it's not ideal. We need clearer procedures for these situations. The Church's long history provides fascinating examples of papal incapacity. In 1954, Pope Pius XII suffered a severe gastric illness that left him periodically unable to speak or function. His trusted aide, Monsignor Giovanni Montini, later Pope Paul VI, effectively ran day-to-day operations while maintaining the fiction of regular papal consultation. During one particularly severe episode, Vatican officials debated whether to announce the Pope's condition. They chose silence, leading to a pattern of information management that would influence Vatican communications for decades. The summer of 1978 saw Pope Paul VI increasingly unable to fulfill his duties. The Vatican developed a system of priority decision-making. Urgent matters were brought to the Pope during his periods of clarity, while other decisions were delayed or handled through existing protocols. Cardinal Jean Villot, then Secretary of State, became the key figure in maintaining Vatican operations. His experience would prove invaluable during the subsequent brief papacy of John Paul I. Perhaps the most public example of papal decline came during John Paul II's final years. His battle with Parkinson's disease played out on the global stage, forcing the Vatican to develop new protocols for papal appearances and decision-making. The Pope's visible suffering prompted serious discussions about papal capacity. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, then head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, began theological and canonical discussions about papal incapacity that would later influence his own decision to resign as Benedict XVI. As medical science advances, the likelihood of prolonged papal incapacity increases. The Church faces the challenge of maintaining its traditions while adapting to modern realities. The papacy must remain both human and divine, notes theologian Sister Maria Celestina. We need procedures that respect both the office's sacred nature and its human limitations. When Benedict XVI announced his resignation in 2013, he fundamentally changed the modern understanding of papal capacity. For the first time in centuries, a pope acknowledged that physical and mental vigor, not just survival, were essential to leading the Church in the modern age. The strength of mind and body are necessary, Benedict declared, setting a new standard. His subsequent years living as Pope Emeritus, wearing white, residing in the Vatican, maintaining a public presence while physically declining, created an entirely new model of papal transition. This living example influenced Francis deeply. In multiple interviews, he referenced Benedict's courage, noting that resignation should become a normal option when a pope could no longer serve effectively. Behind the marble facades of Vatican offices, a complex system of unofficial protocols governs papal illness. These unwritten rules, refined through centuries of experience, determine how the Church maintains operations when its leader is compromised. The Secretary of State becomes the de facto chief executive, handling diplomatic relations and major administrative decisions. The prefect of the papal household manages the Pope's theoretical schedule, maintaining the fiction of normal operations while adapting to reality. Most crucially, the network of Vatican departments continues functioning through a careful balance of tradition and practicality. Documents requiring papal signatures are prioritized during periods of lucidity. Time-sensitive decisions are handled through pre-approved contingency plans. The Vatican is like a ship, explains one senior official. Even if the captain is in his quarters, the crew knows how to maintain course. A pope's incapacity affects more than just Vatican City. The modern Catholic Church is a global institution with complex diplomatic, financial, and administrative relationships worldwide. The Holy See maintains diplomatic relations with over 180 nations. During papal illness, nuncios, Vatican ambassadors, must maintain these relationships while navigating uncertainty about papal authority. Catholic charities, universities, and organizations worldwide require various forms of papal approval for major decisions. During periods of papal illness, these institutions must balance canonical requirements with practical needs. Bishops' conferences worldwide must determine how to proceed with decisions traditionally requiring papal approval. A system of provisional authorizations has evolved, allowing the Church to function while maintaining the fiction of papal oversight. Today's medical technology creates scenarios the Church's ancient protocols never contemplated. A pope can be physically present but mentally compromised, conscious but unable to communicate, or maintained indefinitely through medical intervention. These realities have prompted calls for clearer procedures. Modern canon lawyers argue for specific protocols similar to those governing presidential succession in secular governments. Yet the Church's unique nature, blending spiritual and administrative authority, complicates such solutions. As one Vatican theologian notes, we are dealing with an office that is both human and divine. Our procedures must respect both realities.